something that will completely change your world in terms of ease for you to make money, in terms of you being successful, is if you can create your own opportunities. And I know in the eastonuniversity.com portal, you've got everything covered for responding to inbound leads, figuring out what's important to that customer, closing the deal, following up, negotiating. All that's great. And you guys can hit the numbers you need to hit just doing the normal, super skillful Easton University sales process. Where things start to get really interesting is when you can reach out into the world like a sculptor, grab a lump of clay and sculpt that into an opportunity and close it, okay? Unfortunately, the reason why most people don't do that is they think that grabbing that lump of clay is looking at that lump of clay and going, I can help you, I can help your clients with mortgages, or I can help the kids at your school with self-confidence, or I can help you onboard SKUs, or I can give you labels for the clothing you manufacture with an RFID, right? I've got a great product, I can save you money, I can save you time. That's not gonna sculpt you anything. That's a sales pitch. And if we cold call with sales pitches, the only time that we sell is when somebody already knows they have the problem, they're already considering a solution, and they're open to listening to what we have to say. Unfortunately, that's about 4% of the market. 96%, well, less than 4, because the open to what we have to say part is a big problem. Normally, they won't go down that road with somebody that's cold calling them. For every one person that you can cold call with a traditional pitch, hey, if you've got 5 minutes, we'd love to learn a little bit about your business, or I'd like to show you about what we're doing over here. For every one deal that you can close that way, you can close 100, 200, 300 deals if you're able to reach into the world, grab a lump of clay and sculpt it. The only way to sculpt that lump of clay is to deliver an insight, to start a conversation with an insight. With the new course that's coming on Easton University next week for you guys, Easton Cold Calling and Prospecting, we're going to cover reverse engineering insights. But I want to just run through that a little bit so you guys can start to get a feel for that logic right now, right here, right? Here's your ESP, your Easton sales process. We're going to get their attention. Hi, we're going to deliver an insight. Okay, we're going to talk about their current situation, where they want to go. We're going to monetize the deal. Okay, then and only then we're going to do a demo or proposal. A sales pitch is, hey, if I could have 5 minutes of your time, boom, I skip all of that. Insight, current situation, monetization, and I go to demo and proposal. And then when they bitch about my price, I try and monetize. It's garbage. It's a backwards way to sell. Okay, so and you guys are going to learn this. We've talked about hooks. You guys are going to hear the hooks. Here's one of the hooks. Very common hook we've been talking about. There's something that every blank is having to deal with. Nobody's talking about it. I wanted to make sure you were aware of it. Okay, so let's talk about how we can reverse engineer an insight. The first thing you guys got to know, okay, and if you're taking notes, write this down. The order of what you say is everything. The order of what you say is everything. You can have the right answer. You can have the best product, right? I see Chris O'Donnell, right? O'Donnell's got the best damn vehicles in the world. But if he calls somebody and goes, hey, I have the best vehicles in the world for people that are drop shipping through Amazon, they're not going to want to talk to him, right? So just like getting married, do you want to marry me needs to come later. We've got to build commonality. We've got to create authority. We've got to mold that clay into an opportunity, okay? Here's a bad example of molding that clay. Does anybody know what this is? Do you want to unmute yourself if you know what this thing is on my screen, the picture that I'm showing you guys? It's a label. Does anybody know what kind of label that is? Fine, I'll tell you. It's an RFID label. That thing in the middle there, sandwiched in the middle between the adhesive, between the barcode and the adhesive, is an antenna. It's a radio frequency ID antenna. Okay, let's say I want to sell that to garment manufacturers. Here's the wrong way to sell that. Okay, hey, I want to let you know we now offer RFID-based embedded labels. If I could have 5 minutes of your time, love to schedule a demo, show you this new RFID technology. I believe this could help you sell more as a retailer, and you guys could take advantage of this new technology. Do you have time for a quick demo? No, I don't, Stacy or Matt or whoever it is that's calling them. Rick, I don't have time for a demo for that. Rick's like, why did I get in the RFID business? You didn't, Rick. You're doing awesome where you're doing. You don't have to be in this. But if I was in this business, Here's a great example. This is what I mean by an insight. I could call every single person that manufactures clothing that sells to retailers, and the example might sound something like this. Hey, Rich, there is something going on that every garment manufacturer is having to deal with right now, and absolutely nobody is talking about it. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of this, right? Now, Rich is going to call me back. Rich is going to be more likely to call me back, exponentially more likely, because there's something going on that every garment, he's like, I'm a garment manufacturer. What's going on that we all have to deal with that nobody's talking about? Well, Rich, over the next 4 years, the major big box retailers, your Targets, your Walmarts, they have your Best Buys, they've all gotten together in a consortium, and they're now saying that in order to keep a brick and mortar store open, you as the manufacturer need to participate and help them in that operation. As you know, we've had a bunch of people running through stores and stealing stuff, okay? The traditional, I'm gonna hang this, staple this item to the pair of pants and it's boop, 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 gonna go off in the door, that's going away, okay? The new technology that is rolling out that these retailers are going to require from their manufacturer is label-based RFID technology. This is going to give them two things. Number one, enhanced security at the store. They're going to know what garments go, where they're going to go. Also, number two, inventory with the store. When there's an RFID label, not only can they know if something's getting stolen, but they can know how many of it that they have in the store at that time and where they are. So when some kid puts a ski jacket in the wrong place, it doesn't sit there until June and doesn't sell. How are you guys dealing with that at Patagonia? Now all of a sudden, Rick from Patagonia is like, crap, yeah, we did hear some stuff about this. Walk me through what's going on. They're going to roll it out slowly, 25 and 26, and by 28, they're going to depend on every retailer to have that. Now, the cool thing is what we're seeing with our technology is that's going to divide manufacturers into two groups. Those that are late adopters and non-adopters, they're going to have to sell directly online. They're not going to go through the retailers. And those that are early adopters. The early adopters, say if this was Patagonia, you can actually go in early and say, hey, we're set up, we're ready to go. So if you have beta, would love to take some of that space that you're currently given in North Face. We'll get our new Patagonia stuff in there with the RFID labels, thus giving you a year ahead of Walmart to start testing this technology out. Does it make sense to give me end caps in 78 stores? Now, what did I just do? I grabbed a lump of clay from the world and I molded it into an opportunity. You guys might be saying to yourself, well, that's really neat, Matt, because I don't sell RFID barcode technology. Any of you can reverse engineer an insight. Here's the recipe. And you're gonna learn it on your ECCP, or Easton Cold Calling and Prospecting course. I'm just gonna go through it real quick here, okay? You think about a feature, a benefit, something about you, right? It could be just something about you even. Why would the customer want that? How does that help them, right? You guys are already in the habit of thinking that. Now go, what problem does that solve maybe? What outcome could they achieve if they solved this problem? How much more money could they make? How much time could they save? For the great and powerful Rich from Valley Bank, he might call some brokers. Hey, there's something going on that every residential broker that's doing business in the Hamptons is about ready to have to deal with. There's going to be winners and losers, and I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it because nobody is talking about it. Rich, what's going on? Here's what's going on. They're going to be we're about to have the floodgates open. Okay, there is extreme pent-up demand. The people that live in the Hamptons are tired of that house. They want a bigger one. There's a ton of people, sadly, that just lost their house on the other side of the country that are like, I don't want to do Malibu anymore. I want to do the Hamptons, right? We're about to have the doors open, the floodgates open. You probably already know that, or at least you have a feeling of that. Here's what nobody is talking about, okay? This is not 2004 anymore. The idea that I'm going to be able to come in, get pre-qualified, kind of put an offer on a piece of property, wait, see, oh, I need to add an extra 3 weeks into the contract and the seller's going to be good with it. Those days are gone and they are not coming back. We have a wave of people moving east from the west. They don't have a house right now, okay? They're going to be very aggressive with their offers. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware you need a really solid relationship with your mortgage provider, and I would recommend an absolutely rock solid backup. Because the last thing you need is a buyer to be like, I love the house, it's great, we're putting it together, and then something gets jammed up in their pre-approval letter or that process, and that house gets sold out from under you, and more importantly, under your buyer. How are you dealing with that to make sure that as this wave goes, when you work your tail off to show somebody a piece of property and they want it and they want to put in an offer, how are you making sure that something as silly as a 3-day delay on a mortgage approval is not losing you guys that purchase? It's a great reverse engineered insight. Then Rich can go, man, I'm happy to be that second person for you. I'm happy to be a second opinion for you. All Rich thought was, here, and by the way, I revert, because I've hung out with Rich long enough, I know Rich well enough to reverse engineer an insight for him. That guy lives and breathes this stuff. He's on Eastern University twice a week, every week. I don't think Rich has ever missed a session. He's trying to get better. Rich understands that market better than anybody else. So let's reverse engineer that. Well, if they worked with Rich, he's going to be honest, forthright, and professional, and most importantly, fast. And that speed, he's going to be able to tell them yes or no in a fraction of the time of somebody else, and allowing them to be skillful and effective and efficient as their buyers are like, hey, we want to put in an offer. By the way, Rich, you're welcome. That will resonate with every single real estate professional, because all of them just came from 12 months of, I don't know, I might put in an offer, I might not. And the seller's like, well, if you do, we'll be here and we'll throw the Bentley in. It's in the garage. You can keep the car. Those days are gone. It's done, okay? And by the way, I'm not even talking about mortgage rates coming down. People are just, they're moving. We are now to the point where they're moving. So we're now about to see the old days, the 2022 days, where you better have all your paperwork lined up, you better be ready to go, and you better put your best foot forward with an offer. And all Rich has to say is, how are you dealing with that? Instead of, hey, if you need a professional, I'm out here. Because they're going to hear that and go, I work with a professional, right? I work with Danny, man. Danny's awesome. We had Mexican food yesterday and he picked up the bill for the margs. All right, cool. I'll be here when you absolutely positively need to make sure that these deals are not getting held up on something like a pre-approval, right? God forbid you lose one or two, please give me a call. This is my realm of expertise, right? So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. I wanted to make sure that over this weekend, if you guys get some candles, get some sage, think about what's a feature, what's a benefit, what's something that I add value to, what may be something about you. How would that help somebody? What problem does that solve out there in the world? And then instead of leading with the feature, the benefit, the thing that's great about you, lead with the damn problem, right? For Derek, I don't know if Derek's interested in this. Derek might want to call some HR directors at businesses. Derek might want to call some school districts and say there's something going on that nobody's talking about, right? We're past the days of just, hey, don't talk to Billy. Parents are fed up. They're tired. They want their kids to be able to concentrate. This idea of like, let's just over medicate. I don't know if you want to go down that road, Derek, but I believe in that road. Maybe a little martial arts is better than a little medication, right? I don't know. You got to be touchy-feely with that. But there's a million things Derek can bring up in terms of self-confidence, in terms of better health, in terms of stress relief. How are you dealing with that with your employees? How are you dealing with that with your students? Right? I will be here. The next time you guys are thinking about, you, by the way, you know who, but Derek, this is true, and you can say this. You guys have a half a school bus of kids there right now. I'm not going to ask you to name the names. Please don't name the names. You guys have a half a bus of kids that you are like, we are one step away from expulsion. We are one step away from suspension, right? We're one step away from giving up on these kids, right? How are you dealing with making sure that you guys are providing every resource possible to that kid, both internally at the school and externally, right? Does it make sense? I'm happy to talk to parents. I'm happy to talk to counselors. I'm happy to get involved at Strike Zone where I can. I'm not saying we can save everyone, but we've got a really significant track record of taking some of those hardest case kids, the hardest disciplined kids, and giving them an outlet for that energy and giving them some self-discipline so that they're coming back to the school and they're able to interface with the population in a way that works great for everybody, right? But if you just called the school and say, hey, I've got a kids program for kickboxing or jiu-jitsu or taekwondo, thanks, all set, right? By the way, what's your name and number so we can ask you for a sponsorship for our bake sale, right? But if Derek went with the problem, and the problem is you guys got 600 kids there. I guarantee you there's a half a bus half a bus. What is that? 35 kids? You guys know. Everybody talks about them in the background. It's heartbreaking a little bit, and at the same time, it's very frustrating. They're disruptive. They're ruining the situation for everybody else, and they are one bad actor away from expulsion, right? How are you guys dealing with that? Making sure that you're doing everything you can to not give up on that kid before you ask him to go learn someplace else. That's a great conversation. Next thing you know, Derek's being asked to go talk to the school board, right? It's just when we can do this, he's literally reaching out, grabbing some clay, and modeling it into a program to help the youth of his city be good citizens. That's great for Derek. It costs him nothing. It's a good conversation. You guys can tell I'm passionate. You guys can tell I'm passionate about this stuff because it works. I'm passionate about this stuff because this was the difference maker from me back when I worked at companies that couldn't compete with the big companies. Okay? When I was working at a company that the competition would outspend me by 10, I'd outsell them by 20 because I would just call and deliver an insight. And I would get everybody that wasn't ready to shop and wasn't looking for the best deal, I would catch them before they even went and looked for the ad. And I'd sell them. So when we can create these insights, we can start conversations, and we're going to open ourselves up to a whole marketplace that we never thought before possible.